Hey, welcome back. So let's parse our data so that it makes more sense. So this is today's data, right? So let's create functions. I always like to create functions because it makes things simple so that we can give it today's records, and then it will give us a very nice array that is compatible with our graph. That way we don't need to worry about it. We just throw in that result, and then we get something that's good enough for the graph, and then we supply it and forget. So now today's records, what I want really is to do this. So I want to supply data, okay, but so we create a new graph here, and I think we only need to declare that once. For as long as we give it different data, then it's going to work still. So data is here, and we want to get, so we have today's records. Let me copy this here. What I want is to have data like this. Actually, let me do that right at the top here. I would say data is equal to, so we've set data to an empty array, but we don't need to do this anymore because we can return an empty array if we want to from this function we'll create. So I'll just say generate daily, I don't know, daily data. You can give these functions any name that you want. So generate or convert to daily, or generate daily data, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I want to supply today's records in this function, and then it will give me a nice clean record here, that so that when I open this up like this, data will just be compatible with that. Okay, so I'll leave this up so that we can see what's going on, and then let me create this function, otherwise we'll create an error here since this function does not exist. Of course, our functions are in the core functions. Let's go right at the end and create one new function. So I'm just going to say function and paste that. Okay, so today's records, right? Generate daily data. So I'm sure you can see what the next function will be by just the names here. This one will be monthly. And then this one will be yearly data. So instead of saying today's records, I'll just put records here like so. We will know what records are in there anyway. So what I want to do, of course, is to loop through the records. So I'll do a for each loop, which is the best. Records as key and value, right? And let's come back here and look at our daily records and see what's going on here. So we have an array which we can loop through, and every time we loop, the value is an array, right? The key is 0, 1, which is practically useless. We don't need this at all, right? Now, a daily record is a record of today, or that particular day, right? So in a day, there are 24 hours, okay? 24 hours. So we need a way to create an array that has 24 records. So what we will do is, let me come back here. Okay, so maybe just getting the total was not enough. So we need a total and the date. Okay, from these records, we need the total column and the date. Now the date is important because it has to tell us what hour this record was created at. Okay, and it will be useful for monthly so that we see what day, and for yearly so we can see which month. Okay, so to fix this problem, let's go back to our admin section and let's put 2 columns here each. So select these two by holding down Control and comma date, like so. So I'm selecting the total column and the date column as well. So if I come back here and let's refresh the page, you see that now we have 2 columns at least in here. Okay, that is cool for all records, that is. So at least now we know when this was created. Now let's separate these by hour. So there's an hour meter here. Okay, all right. Back to functions. So what we want to do here is create an array that has 24 parts. So I'm going to say I'll abbreviate the array with array like this and create an empty array first. This is not really necessary, but it's just cleaner, I guess. So you start with an empty array and then you add stuff to it. Then we're going to use a for loop, not the for each, but just the for loop. That way I can loop a specific number of times, which is 24. Now I don't want to start at hour 0. Actually, yeah, we do start at hour 0. And well, how are the hours of the day? They're 24 hours, right? Interesting. So 00 is midnight, so which means 24 doesn't count, it's up to 23. So the less than is okay because it will end at 23. Okay, so that's good. So let's leave that be. Now what we do while we loop, so let's say we are looping the first time. The first time is 0. So what I want to do is loop through the data that we were given like this, okay, and then find all records that were done at this hour, and then I will add them to the array. Okay, so now since we do need, because it's possible that there are records that did not happen at midnight, right, at 0, so that's very likely. What we don't want is to have no record at 0. So if there's no record at 0, for example, we should have a 0 there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to initiate the 0 key. But anyway, since these numbers are going 0, 1, 2, so I guess it's okay if we just wait a minute. Okay, let's do this first, and then we're going to fill in the blanks. So let's just do what we have right now, and then we'll fill in the blanks. So we loop through and then ask the question if. So the key is not necessary because that key equals this 0, 1, which we don't need at all. It's not useful data. So what I want is to remove that. And then this one is actually a row of data. So records as row. And then I'm going to say array I, right? Whatever the I is at the time is equal to, or we'll say, what do we say? Plus equals, because we want to add the totals. So plus equals row, and then, wait, is this an array? Yes, this is an array, row total. So I'll do this and do that. Okay, so let's say, but we need an if statement here. So as we are looping through, we're going to ask the question, hour. Let's create the hour first. Hour is equal to, and then we're going to say date, and then we just want to get the hour. So capital H there, because this is how we normally do our hour, minutes, seconds, right? So I just want the hour. That's that one there. But the problem is if I do this, it's going to get the current hour. Okay, so I needed to know that I want the hour of the date that was supplied in here. So I'll copy this and then put it there and then use date. So I wanted to get the hour only from this date. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't use this format. It uses an integer for this function. So what we will do is convert this into an integer by putting brackets and then say string to time, like so. Like that. String to time, this will convert that into an integer which is compatible with this function, and then you should just get the hour from that current int. So hour is there, so we know that hour is whatever number that is, and we're just going to compare, is this hour equal to the current I that we are on? If it is, then add it to this. So this is where the if statement comes in. So we say if hour is equal to I, right? If hour is equal to I. So I hope the hour here is not, I don't know if I should use a small letter h or capital H, but let's see what results we get here, because there are two versions of hours. There's 00 or 01, and then there's one where it's just a 1 like this, or 02, or sometimes it's just 2. So if they are different like that, then this will never be true. So, but let's just wait and see. Now, if you only have one statement inside the if, you don't need to put the brackets. You can leave it like this and it's valid. But just for readability's sake, let's put the brackets like so. And then we're going to add that. And then at the end of all this, we're going to return the array like that. Okay. So if I go back to my cells here, I want to show what the result of data is instead of today's records. So I will show the result of data on the first one. Yeah. So moment of truth, let's see what happens. Refresh. So it's saying undefined array key 17. Okay. So it has 17 there, and boom. So on line 197, so let's see what's going on. 197. Okay. Oh, I see. So the problem is that we are saying add to this array section. So if it doesn't exist yet, then that will be a problem, because we can't add to what doesn't exist. So we must put an else statement here, unfortunately. So if this is true, we need to know if it is set. If this one is set, then we do something. So we say if is set. If it's already set, then let's do this addition like this. So we're adding to it. But if it isn't set, let's just set it to whatever that value is at the time so that we initiate it. There we go. So if this array, let's say for example we're on hour 5, if there's a section in, if hour 5 already exists, add to it. If it doesn't, then create a new record. Just put whatever that number is at the time. So we should have that error disappear. Okay, so there it is, array 17. That's the total. So we only have 1 hour in the whole day that has records. So in order to prove that we can add a different hour, let's actually add some records here and see what goes on. So I'm going to go to, where is that? Interesting. I can right click here to add, go back to graph view, and here I just want to add a new record. This is a different hour to the record that already exists. So check out, and let's put something there. So we have new records, so we should see a different hour here as well, and this is hour 19, right? So let's check that out, and there we go. So we have a new record at hour 19, which is that one. So this is how we are creating the records. Now the problem is we only have 2 hours where something happened. The rest of the hours are empty, but we don't see them here. For the graph to actually work, we need those records to be there. So what we are going to do is we have to fill in those blanks, right? So what I'm going to do is, you know what, I can copy this, so I don't have to do this here. I can copy this and then put it right here. So before we even loop through this thing, let's generate, we're going to ask the question, is set array I? If not, right, let's just put the not there. If not is set, like this, let's remove this, okay. If it's not set, let's set it and then add a 0 as a value so that we have at least a record for every hour. Then here we don't need to ask if this is set anymore because it's always set at the top there if it wasn't. So which means we can get rid of this if statement altogether down here and just add to it like so. Alrighty then, so let's come back and then let's refresh. So as you can see now, we have a record for every hour of the day, and then there's only 2 hours when there's an actual value. Okay, pretty cool, yeah? So if now I return this and come back here, all I need to do is open this part up. I'm going to hide this. Now I can supply this data to a graph and it will be valid. So let's refresh and see what we get. And there we go. So as you can see, on hour 17, that's what we got for today. And hour 19, we had that. But the rest of the time was 0, 0, 0, and so on. Okay, pretty cool. So that's it for the day section. We need to go to the month section and do exactly the same thing and so on. Let's do that in the next video.